you know, I've been listening very closely here, and it seems to me that what we've got here in the United States is a corporate mentality that's only interested in trying to make more money off the current status quo and only very short-term vision. And any vision that they have for the future is not being based on something new being in the picture. It's all based on status quo technology. And again, nuclear energy isn't all that new. We're talking about something, the fundamentals that were set down by what we're talking about, something that was designed by people who were educated before World War II. And it's basically 50-year-old technology that has been incrementally improved. I think the idea of focusing our research on reprocessing plants that can help solve a part of the problem is a good idea. But what I'd like to know, if we can't rely on corporate America to come for innovations, we got to rely on government policy. How much money has been going into research and development, federal dollars, in terms of developing this high-temperature gas-cooled reactor concept as compared to just incrementally improving the light water reactor concept?
I can speak to, from the standpoint of the improvement of light water reactor technologies. There's been very little federal government investment in research and development. There is an ongoing effort for a cost-shared program between government and industry, so that the research tools of government can do what industry can't do or doesn't have the capabilities to do, to ensure the extension of that technology. In terms of the high-temperature gas reactor in the United States, the project that means to deliver that capability is the next-generation nuclear plant. There is an ongoing program to develop and demonstrate that technology at a scale that will then convince commercial interests that this is something that they want to buy.
Why is it that the Japanese have one of these working and we don't?
Well, they have a test reactor.
That's correct.
It's not industrial scale.
It's a big reactor. I'll have to. I went there and I went through the reactor myself.
South Africa has a aggressive developmental program in this area, and again, we think, and I speak just from the standpoint of reactor technology and our perspective at the Idaho National Lab, this is a very important future technology. It's also complicated. You've got to prove the fuel performance. You've got to prove that you can manufacture the fuel, and the fact that you can do it once in a test reactor and not stress it or demonstrate it at an industrial scale, there's lots of uncertainties that have to be resolved. So that refers to my comment as perhaps the folks you talked to were a little bit aggressive in terms of their estimates of the maturity of the technology. Having said that, Congressman, you know, I'm with you. I think this is an important technology, but reactors are not simple things.
Listen, I believe, first of all, as I say, the criticisms of the current system is justified. You know, we got plutonium left over, and we've got waste problems, and we've got risks associated with it. I am dismayed that we have a situation where we have a potential alternative nuclear option that is not being fully looked at, that the Japanese and the Russians, of all people, are engaged in actually moving it forward on this technology at a much faster pace than we are, and that we will be left behind because of corporations' inability to basically look forward and have long-term strategies, and our government, which seems to be unfortunately too tied to the hip to major U.S. corporations, that we're being dragged back and not being able to make these investments in future technologies. So I think this is a great risk. I think we could wake up. Look, I am the benefit, Mr. Chairman. We are the benefit of that World War II generation. My father helped develop the things that right now, and his generation, that are now solving the problems that we face today, but there are future problems. And unless we are the ones that are open to new ideas, rather than totally focused only on incremental improvements of the status quo, we will be left behind a generation from now, and our kids will not be the leaders of the future, as Americans have been for the last 30 and 40 years, based on the work of our parents. So I would hope that we live up to the great generation's challenge to us and remain the world's leader. And energy is so important, and I believe that the high-temperature gas-cooled reactor is an example of something that we should be putting maximum attention on, and instead it's being pushed to the side and out of the picture. So thank you.
If I could, yeah, comment on that.
Sure.
If I would agree that the U.S. has fallen behind in its leadership of the nuclear industry.
Right.
But at the same time, I think we have a very similar view of the high-temperature gas-cooled reactor, as does the Asian market, particularly Japan. I think we both see it as prototype, somewhat developmental in nature. Through Admiral Grossenbacher's areas, we need to look at the fuel characterization and the materials issues. But if you look at what Japan is building and purchasing now, it is not high-temperature gas reactors. They are building the light water advanced reactors.
They've got the same problems with their corporations that we do.
Well, and I think, and again, when we put out a request for proposal for additional baseload power, we do not limit it to anything. We look at coal, any renewables, and nuclear, and within the nuclear family, whoever responds. The answer is there was no response of a high-temperature gas-cooled reactor, and that's because it's not yet ready for the commercial deployment. But we're hopeful that as we sustain this infrastructure, there will be deployment of HTGRs, whether it's for electricity production or some of the other benefits that it can provide.
Well, I'll be going to Russia to look at their operation and some of the issues that you brought up, and I think this really deserves the attention of the committee, and I thank you very much for giving me this time.
The gentleman's time has expired. I know, Mr. Cochran, you'd like to continue, but let me say this. You have been an excellent panel. We have not closed the record. This is not the extent of this dialogue. This is one that we want to continue. We need to continue. There are not easy answers here. We're all going to have to talk about it in a collaborative way, and we will continue on this committee to do that. So under the rules of the committee, the record will be held open for 2 weeks for members to submit additional statements and any additional questions they might have for the witnesses and the hearing, but the subject is not adjourned.